Greetings. I am she, Shimses Wanfant Atun, the mistress of Atun, aka Shavanda, the High Priestess, here to read a book by William Bond, Freemasonry and the Hidden Goddess, in its entirety. I wish to thank Diana Vesta, Pamela Suffield, and Rasa von Werder in their help and encouragement in making this book possible. The contents. Prefix. Chapter 1. I can't read without music.
I'm going to give away this incredible
Sorry, I can't edit this stuff. Chapter 1. The compass and the square. Chapter 2. Goddess and the Bible. Chapter 3. The eye of the goddess. Chapter 4. Chapter 4. Goddess images within Freemasonry. Chapter 5. The matriarchal age. Chapter 6. Revolution and counter-revolution. Chapter 7. Freemasonry and the devil. Chapter 8. Mason tracing boards. Chapter 9. The pentagram. Chapter 10. Weep, the end of patriarchy. Chapter 11. The goddess Kali. Chapter 12. The matriarchal revelation. Chapter 13. Freemasonry in the modern world. Chapter 12. The matriarchal revelation. Chapter 13. Freemasonry in the modern world. Chapter 14. The compassionate goddess. Chapter 15. The feminine creatrix. Conclusion. Preface. A number of years ago, I came across an illustrated Freemasonry book called Freemasonry by W. Kirk McNulty in my local library, and glancing through it out of idle curiosity, I was surprised to find I was able to pick out goddess symbolism within the Mason images, which was a surprise because Freemasonry is supposed to be a male-dominated secret society. So why would an organization that has steadfastly refused to allow female members within its ranks for hundreds of years use goddess symbolism? It didn't make sense. I myself am not a Freemason. So any knowledge and understanding from this book only comes only from my interpretation of Mason symbols, though I have had a deep interest in goddess religions for nearly 30 years. So I am looking at Freemasonry from this point of view. Yet if my interpretations of the symbols are correct, they tell a very different story about Freemasonry than what the general public is led to believe. Goddess worship is not usually connected with Freemasonry, yet they even had the audacity to erect a giant statue of a sun goddess in New York Harbor, which they called the Statue of Liberty. Since then, I have discovered I am not alone in realizing there is a hidden goddess within Freemasonry. I have since gone on the internet and by simply typing goddess Freemasonry in a search engine, I have found websites saying very much the same thing. Many, it seems, from ex Freemasons. Though I have to say, these people seem to have a different perspective than what I have. Mostly, they seem to be fundamentalist Christians who believe strongly that the Bible is the Word of God. Then they become Freemasons and were shocked to discover that its roots are pagan. Some of these men have gone as far as accusing Freemasons of being Satanists. Now, personally, I am not a Christian myself. I very much believe in the teachings of Jesus, but disagree with many of the teachings of the Old Testament and in the later teachings of the apostles. I have studied Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, paganism, Sufi, New Thought, New Age, and mysticism, and learned from all these different spiritual teachings. I believe the difference between religion is cultural, so no one religion or sect has a greater truth than another because different spiritual teachings fit the mindset of different cultures and people. My main interest is the ancient worldwide religion of the Great Mother, which I believe has been preserved in the Tao Te Ching, the Hindu sect Tantra, the teachings of Jesus in the New Testament.
Look at this.
And now it seems in Freemasonry.
From west to east we journey in search of the ancient word. Although the way be thorny, our free will and full accord. Great architect of heaven, thy temple we built with hands. The labor of the brethren fulfill all thy wondrous plans. O hail, grand lodge of Masons, most worshipful is thy reign. For all the four horizons and name is so many. Oh, hail, grand lodge of reason, most worshipful is thy grace. Our working tombs and pavements, our signs of the born and place. Oh, hail, grand lodge of reasons, most worshipful is thy state. All men of God and reasons will not cut thy pearly gate. Oh, hail, grand lodge of reasons, most worshipful is thy name. Like jewels they prove emblazoned in history's book of fame. Oh, hail, oh, hail.
I believe the difference between religions and cultural, so no one religion or sect has a greater, oh, excuse me, sorry. Dog, I hate when I do that. Okay, so this is the viewpoint I have. When I look at Freemasonry symbols, I don't have any interest whether the Freemasons are non-Christians or even devil worshippers. I am dubious about the conspiracy theories that Freemasons secretly ruled the world. Though I don't reject this altogether, as a surprisingly large number of political, industrial, banking, and religious leaders seem to be Freemasons. I have no doubt that the Freemasons do work behind the scenes, influence world events, but I doubt if Freemasons are completely united in their aims, and I don't believe its leaders are the evil supermen as portrayed by conspiracy theorists. You only have to look at the state of the world is in to suppose many people preferred the ideal they were we are ruled by evil supermen than the thought that we could be ruled by people who are out of their depths and don't really know what they are doing. Yet I also have to admit that the world today is far better ruled than back in the Middle Ages. So I do see signs of progress. The main focus of this book is to show how Freemasonry uses the symbolism of a very ancient goddess religion that goes back to the Neolithic age. So its roots may be very ancient, though whether Freemasonry is a goddess religion in reality, or they have inherited ancient symbols they no longer understand. I don't know. The truth is probably a mixture of both, as I will explain later. I was once accused by a Freemason of being too simplistic in my interpretations of Mason symbols. This Masonic symbolic drawing called Sea Light answers this criticism as its meaning is symbolism and complex ideas, while the other path is clear and leads straight to the sun goddess. The highly educated Mason with all these complicated ideas is on a path that leads nowhere, while the other seeker is has his eyes fixed firmly on the sun goddess and looks nowhere else, and his path leads straight to her. Chapter 1: The Compass and the Square. The drawing above is called faith, hope, and charity, as in other Mason drawings, faith, hope, and charity are represented by angels or goddesses. In this drawing, we only see two goddesses or angels, so where is the third? The secret meaning within this drawing is that the third goddess is compass and square image in the middle of the drawing. So why does this image represent a goddess? The compass and square image is probably the most popular symbol in Freemasonry. The fundamentalist Pastor Ron Carlson, who has spoken about Freemasonry in evangelical churches in many parts of America, acclaim that the square represents the earth, the compass represents the sky, and the square and compass, when united, represents the sky impregnating the earth with its showers. He goes on to state that this is a symbol of sexual intercourse. The official Freemason line is they are just tools of the masonry trade. Within the space made by the square and compass, sometimes a letter is put there. Mostly it is a G, though sometimes it is an M or F. So what does these letters mean? Masons claim that G is the secret name of God, which is a mystery in itself because clearly G would stand for God. So it is not a mystery at all. To make it a mystery suggests it must be another name. Masons themselves claim that G stands for geometry. Geometry. This is because Freemasons refer to God as the great architect, and you need geometry to create a complex building like a church. It has been acclaimed that the Presbyterian minister James Anderson introduced the word great architect into Freemasonry in 1723, and that he got it from the works of John Calvin, one of the founders of Presbyterianism. Also, the ideal of geometry comes from the physics of Isaac Newton, who showed that the movement of planets was caused by scientific laws and not by the hand of God or previously thought. Newton used geometry to calculate the movement of planets. So if we replace geometry with God, we would then assume that Freemasonry is an a, a atheistic organization. As atheists claim that God didn't exist, use the physics of Isaac Newton along with later Darwin's theory of evolution to prove that the world was created by blind chance. Though the irony of this is that Isaac Newton was a very religious man and would completely reject this claim. Freemasonry is certainly not an atheistic society, and they ever banned people from joining it who are atheists. In my opinion, both the great architect and geometry are really very poor names for the creator. After all, there is a vast difference in planning a building and creating life. There are names that wouldn't satisfy a person who has the imagination to wonder at the diversity and complexity of life and the universe. A better explanation comes from Gerald Gardner, who was not only a Freemason but also the originator of modern witchcraft. At the end of an article about witchcraft, he was to write, "My myth of witchcraft seems to be the story of the goddess here quoted. I am forbidden to give her name, so I will call her G." If that is true, then it gives us a chance to the meaning of the compass's square image. A diamond shaped frame, the letter G. This shape must be important because masons use the same shape using other tools. As we can see on the previous page, where knives and forks are used to make the same shape, which is strange because knives and forks are certainly not mason tools. Then, this then suggests that the shape that the objects makes is more important than objects that make the shape. So, what is this shape trying to tell us? The V or triangle shape seems to be used a lot in Freemason symbolism. An example of this is another important Mason symbol of the trowel, which of course is another triangle shape. In Stone Age excavations, archaeologists and paleontologists have discovered many V and triangle shaped symbols and triangle shaped symbols, and it seems they represent the triangle of a woman's pubic hairs, while the diamond shape is similar to an open woman's vagina. We can find an example of this is the image of the Sheila Nagig, a drawing by Kathy Jones. The image called Sheila Gig and is found, believe it or not, on ancient Christian churches in Britain and Ireland. It is acclaimed by Christian priests that this image was used to frighten away demons, which might make sense to a Christian minded person who believes sex and everything to do with it is dirty and evil. Yet to the ancients, this was once a holy and sacred image. Many of these images are found on churches dedicated to Saint Bridget, who was once the pagan goddess Bridget. It has also been claimed that when the Christian church first built the first stone churches, the workforce still followed pagan beliefs. So the workers were able to incorporate many of the pagan gods and goddesses within the decoration of the churches, as well as coded messages of pre-Christian teachings. So it seems the church had at the time didn't then have the power to prevent this. It has also been claimed that these pagan stone masters were the first Freemasons. Freemasons today don't mind admitting that the compass and the square symbol is also a disguised version of the hexagram shape. If you put two horizontal lines across the point of the compass and square, so why did the Freemasons in the past need to disguise its shape? Although in the last 200 years the hexagram has gained reasonable respectability as the Star of David in Judaism, in pre Christian times it was used by pagan religions. So back in medieval times, it would be have been seen as a pagan symbol, which would warrant a visit by the Inquisition for anyone who dares to display it. The hexagram consists of 6 sides, 6 points, and 6 smaller triangles, thus 666. Before Revelations in the Bible was written, 666 stood is still as holy number in Hinduism and Buddhism. So the story of the beast 666 in the book of Revelations was an attack on goddess worship, as 666 was also used to represent the triple Babylonian hex, is also associated with witchcraft, as it is another name for a witch's spell, and in German, a hexen is a witch. The hexagram is very ancient and was used to represent sexual love, and we can see one triangle of the female pubic hair and the other triangle of the penis and two testicles. They are then joined together in sexual union. If you take away the two horizontal bars, you once again have the diamond shape similar to an open vagina. The hexagram is still used today by the Hindu Tantra as a symbol of sexual intercourse. Judaism only adopted the Star of David as late as the 18th century, so they may not have known its original meaning. In our Judeo Christian world, we assume that sex and religion don't have anything to do with each other because we have been taught that sex is a sin. But in the ancient past, sex was seen as a very sacred act because it creates life. This is true even in Hinduism today, as whole temples are devoted to the sacredness of sex, as was also the vagina. Because prehistoric people believed that the whole world was born from the womb of the Great Mother, for this reason they worshiped the vagina as the source of all life. The later patriarchal religions made sex a sin and claimed that the vagina was unclean as an attack on their earlier goddess religions. To many Christian minded people, these carvings from India would be seen as obscene. When ancient people believed that the Great Mother created the universe, it was easy for them to imagine the Great Mother giving birth to the world. For this reason, everything associated with giving birth became very sacred. When humans first became self aware, they began to ask themselves, what created the world? It then would be natural for them to assume that the intelligence that created our world would be feminine. This is because if we look at animal and human life, we find that life is created within the bodies of females. In fact, it would have seemed to our ancestors that women had great magical powers to create life like this. So it would be logical for them to assume that the whole of creation was born from the body of what they called the Great Mother. The carvings below comes from India. It represents the worship of the Yanni. Even in modern times in Tantra, the Yanni is seen as a sacred and revered object. This belief, it seems, gave women great power and status in human society. Because of the creatrix was female, then all women were created in the image of the Great Mother. The belief also made women very holy because it was only women who could create life in the same way the Great Mother had done. This is seen clearly in the many images found in the Paleolithic and Neolithic sites where they show images of the sex act, the genitalia of women represented as V, of a woman's public pubic hair or slit symbol, and the very many naked images of women themselves. The picture that comes from these ancient times is that people then regarded the sex act, menstruation, childbirth, and breastfeeding as all being very sacred. When these images were first discovered in the 19th and 20th centuries, male scientists just dismissed them as fertility symbols. But since then, very large numbers of these symbols and images that have been found in many parts of the world, this has made some people realize that these were the images of a major worldwide religion. Some paleontologists have speculated that people in the Stone Age were unaware that the sex act produced childbirth. So women suddenly produced children would be seen as a wondrous miracle. They also went on to imagine that when men realized this role in conception, he no longer worshiped women as magical beings and took over the role of creator himself. To support this theory, we do find in ancient Egypt that the god Atum created the world in an act of masturbation. The problem is that we do find the sexual act portrayed in Stone Age art. Also, the number 13 and 9 are important in cave art. I hope this reads. There are 13 menstrual cycles or moon months in a year, and it takes an average of 9 months for a baby to conceive and be ready for birth. So the people then may not be as draft as we assume they might be. Also, the input of men in the act of creation can be over in a few seconds. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, which is not anywhere equal to women carrying a fetus for 9 months. The pain and drama of childbirth itself, and then the ability of the woman to feed the newborn baby from her breast. Not to mention all the mysteries of menstruation, which was seen as something very holy and sacred in ancient societies, and sometimes as unclean and taboo in later patriarchal societies. So we can see from this that the ancient religion of the Great Mother would be a very feminine religion and emphasizes the feminine and maternal instincts of compassion, caring, nurturing, loving, and creativity. This is supported by the fact that in the first civilizations of the Neolithic age, warfare and violence against other people was completely unknown. Archaeologists only began to find weapons of war, fortifications, and images of violence in the later Bronze and Iron Ages, where it seems people began to worship male warrior gods. It seems that men started to begin to dominate our world about 5,000 years ago through violence and conquest. They then also created male dominated religions that made the creator a male and claimed that the sexual act, menstruation, childbirth, and breastfeeding were all unclean, sinful, and taboo. This was the undermine the role of women. Even today, few women dare to breastfeed in public, while back in the 50s and 60s, male doctors all but banned breastfeeding, claiming that cow's milk was better for human children. It was only later scientific research showed the obvious fact that human milk was best for human babies, as it had been discovered that mothers pass on their immunity to disease through the breast milk. Unfortunately, there is still resistance because mothers are still not encouraged to keep breastfeeding too long and to switch to cow's milk as soon as possible. in spite of the fact that the research shows that mothers keep on feeding their immunity to the baby right up to the time the baby is weaned. Also, more modern research shows that feeding babies cow's milk contribute to cot baby deaths. Some Christian women, even now, will, after giving birth, still go to priests for a cleansing ritual to clean them of their sin of childbirth. Children also go through the cleansing ritual of baptism, which originally was to clean them of the sin of being born of women. So we can see through patriarchal attitudes an attack on the importance of women's roles. As feminists have pointed out so often, child rearing is the most devalued work in our society. When some feminists in the 60s and 70s suggested that women should be paid to bring up children, they were laughed at and ridiculed. After all, bringing children and caring for them is clearly not as important as the activities of men, like generals who have trillions of dollars in which to buy exciting toys like machine guns, flamethrowers, napalm bombs, or nuclear weapons. So, this is the difference between matriarchal and patriarchal religions. The feminine goddess religions were about the celebrations of whole act of creation, from the sexual act to giving birth and breastfeeding. It also emphasized the maternal instincts of women of compassion, caring, and love. The masculine religions, on the other hand, have throughout history have been about the glorification of violence, where religious wars have been commonplace and still go on even today. The irony of this is that in Christianity, in Christianity, Jesus preached love and compassion, yet Christianity has been one of the world's most violent religions throughout its history. This has been the great tragedy of the last 5,000 years. While humans believe that the Great Mother created the world, the feminine, maternal instincts of compassion, nurturing, and love became the ideal for everyone. Then people began to question this belief and accept that our Creator could be male. This allowed people to accept masculine principles and instincts of competition and aggression. In time, this would allow was allowed to grow until it turned into violence and conquest, creating the world we know throughout record history of war, oppression, poverty, and suffering. Modern scholars acclaim that goddess religions were only fertility cults because of the way ancient people used to worship images and carvings of vaginas. Possibly with their Christian bias, they may have thought that they were all sex mad in these goddess religions. Now, many Freemasons claim that their roots are very ancient, going back to the first civilization. The first civilizations were created in the Neolithic times, where we find people then still worshiped the Great Mother. The V and the diamond shape we see in the compass and square symbol are similar to what has been found in ancient Paleolithic and Neolithic art. So, So it suggests that the Freemasonry secret name of God would be goddess. This then would be a true secret because Freemasonry is supposed to be a male dominated organization where women were not allowed into it until recent times. As also as Freemasonry originated in Christian countries, they wouldn't want to be seen worshiping a goddess in a sex mad fertility cult. The word God comes from the ancient Indo European images, and only came used for the male sex later on. Even in North India today, Khod, Khod, God, God, means vulva, female organ of regeneration, creation, and eternal beginning. So the secret name of God will be the Great Mother and Great Architect, as the Freemasons call her in coded form. It would also make sense of why some Freemasons have put the letter M in the space between the two tools because M would stand for mother, which is the ancient name for the goddess. The word mother is common in all ancient languages, like mama, mu, ma, ma, maya, and mana. They all mean both a mortal mother and the great mother. New initiates of Freemasonry are told to search for the lost world, which is apparently the real name of God. In the third degree initiation, they are given a clue and told to look to that bright and morning star. Now the morning star is Venus, who was a Roman goddess, though the morning star was also called once called Lucifer, the god of light, which people who claim that Freemasons are devil worshippers latch onto. Yet long before the creation of Lucifer, it was the Babylonian goddess Astarte who was the morning star. Further back in time, she was known as the Queen of the Star and the ancient Great Mother. Jesus was also called the morning star in Revelation in the Testament. So this is why in the first drawing in chapter 1, the two angels represents faith and hope, while charity is represented by the vagina goddess symbol. There also could be another meaning in this picture. Perhaps the two angels were faith and charity, while the center image is hope. Hope would then represent not only a goddess but Freemasonry as well, suggesting that it is Freemasonry that gives us hope and returning us to the nonviolent religion of the Great Mother. There are even more feminine symbols in the compass and the square or the knife and the fork symbols because the top half clearly shows that the letter W and we have the letter M at the bottom. The first letter of woman is W and first letter of M is mother. Symbol of zigzag goes back to the Paleolithic terminology art, and it seems this sign means water. It is from the zigzag we get the letters W, M, Z, and N. It also represents female vagina moisture and the fluid that surrounds a baby in the womb. The trowel is another popular Masonic symbol. It is also a triangle shape and so can represent the pubic hair triangle of women, while the handle is a phallic shape, meaning the towel can represent sexual intercourse or, in more mystic terms, the two becoming one. The fact that tau is placed in front of the compass and square symbol suggests they both mean the same meaning, the same thing. The compass along with the square creates a diamond shape similar to the shape of a open vagina, and just to rub it in, the hinge of the compass can also represent a woman's clitoris. A tree branch is also used frequently in masonry symbolism. The olive branch, also a sign of peace. Another meaning is that ancient goddess religions had sacred um, groves because they had a high regard for trees, which suggests they were life affirming religions, as well as understanding the importance of trees in preventing soil erosion, something that was never quite understood by later patriarchal religions and institutions, who cut down sacred groves as an attack on goddess worship. This dislike of trees is even evident today, where rainforests are being cut down at an alarming rate in South America. Southeast Asia as well, Africa and Australia. This Mason symbol on the left is regarded as blasphemy by fundamentalist Christians who were once Freemasons. This is because they were told that their circle represents the vagina and the point, the penis, inserted in the vagina. Then, to make matters worse, we have the Bible above the circle vagina symbol. Yet, this is not unusual in Mason symbolism, as they use goddess symbolism with the Bible and other of their symbols, as we can see in the image below. That has been the reading all the way up to that has been the chapter 1, all the way up to page 11. I will continue on the next shadow hour, perhaps. Chapter 2, the goddess and the Bible. I will be reading next in the next allotted time. The Goddess and Freemasonry by William Bond. PDF available. Read along with me.